Start at the edge and peel it. And lose your razor blade. Just fell out. Welcome back to part 2. RCA 12-inch console. Have a cabinet down here in the woodworking shop. It's been sitting in the 2-car garage for over a year. I think the sides in the front will clean up nicely. The top, we may have to re-veneer this because it's pretty bad shape. Got the cabinet up on this work stand where we can get to it just a little bit easier. First, we're going to take off this surround, CRT surround, and that has the glass in it. This panel here needs to come off. That's where the grill cloth and the speaker go. And the top, you can see this is just a thin piece of plywood and veneer on top of that. The ones I've done in the past, if you get started, usually it'll come off fairly easy. Four, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16 screws, and I missed one. One right here. Looks like that glass just sits against that with some foam tape. And not sure if we need to repaint this or not. Might clean up really good because it's been protected. Probably doesn't have any scratches in it, but we'll see. Alright, let's see if this speaker board will come out. It's faded. Of course, I suspected it would be. Yeah, interesting the way they done that. It looks like maybe maple. It just sits in there. Pretty neat. It removed the RCA emblem on the front, and it is broke, but nothing missing. Just separated there where the C and the A go together. So we can put some gold paint on that, make that look a lot better. Looking at this dial light bracket, I think someone has stained over the lens. I'd almost bet that's supposed to be at least a light color rather than brown. Well, maybe I was wrong. Kind of an orange cast to it. And yes, you can see through it. Like a lot of these old sets, this has these metal feet. You just tap in the bottom of the cabinet. We're going to take them off. One thing about them, you probably never wear them out, but they are wore down. Been scooted a lot. And where these decals are, someone has put a finish on this, and they apparently just taped that up, what it looks like. We are going to need some new ones because I'm going to strip all this off, all the outer finish, and that'll lead into those decals. Well, I decided to try some paint stripper here on this side. Just finished one good thick coat. And we'll let it do its thing there for a few minutes. Here's what I'm using, called a 2-minute remover. It definitely softens it up. Okay, left side pretty much ready to be sanded. Looking at this top, here's my technique on this veneer. Still going to take a while, but if you can get it started on the edge, you can peel up a pretty good section of it. And lose your razor blade. It just fell out. But that's the idea. And we almost got to the other side with this piece. This is really tough right here. It's not peeling off really well at all. So I've got some hot water, and you can see I've scored it where hopefully the water will get down in those scored places and loosen the glue. We'll see how this works. Hot water and cloth. Let that soak. Hopefully it'll make something happen. The water gets down in there and it's peeling it up. Here's the glue. I'm going to work on the front next. That's the process. We just have to go over it several times and it'll get a layer off every time with that stripper. But coming right along, we've got this practically all stripped off. And you can see the red cast. This definitely was a mahogany finish, I'm pretty sure. All right, wanted to show you here on this last side that we need to get the outer finish off of. I'm using a combination on this side. I'm putting a paint stripper on first to soften up the outer surface. Then I'm taking the acetone and brushing it on, and it seems to really work well. You can see what we're getting off there every time we scrape. So I think a combination of the two works a little better than just acetone and just paint stripper. You can see here that's already starting to dry with the paint stripper, so I need to put some more acetone there. But you can see where I've taken this off above it, and that seems to work good. Ready to put some stain and polyurethane. But I'm going to put the veneer on the top first in case I do have to mix two different colors of stain. I can stain the whole cabinet with one mix. I won't have to worry about it being a different color. I hope the veneer matches. I went back over both sides in the front and the top with the sander one more time. Then I took a rag and wiped it off again with some acetone. And here's the veneer for the top. There's those stripes I was talking about. It seemed to be in the old veneer, so hopefully we matched that pretty well. And here's our contact cement we're going to be using. So you put cement on the veneer, you put cement on the cabinet, you let them dry for just a few minutes. I'll have to read on there to see. And then you stick them together. And they even give you instructions here on, this is a paperback. You see the brown paper there. So we'll read our instructions and make sure we're doing everything right and get started on this. Reading the directions on this, I think we need to wait 10 to 15 minutes after we get the glue put on each surface. And you can even put more than one coat if you have a really porous surface. And we've got some gouges here, so we may go with 2 coats on the top of the set. I'm sure 1 coat would be plenty on the veneer because it's new. Masking tape to protect the sides in case we get spillover from the top. And this front edge also, cover it up. There we go. Should be good for now. We'll let that start to do its thing. Again, we just want to make sure that we have plenty on the edges. Now, I've already trimmed this to where it's about 1 inch bigger than the actual top of the set, so as long as we get within a 1/2 inch of the edges, we should be okay. And one more important thing, we'll try to keep from getting it all over you, which I'm attempting to do. I'll set my timer for, we're going to go 15 minutes. Those paint paddles work really well. That's so you can position the veneer without it sticking to the cabinet. And then, as you can see here, I'm scraping as I go to push the veneer down into the glue. I think that's enough scraping. So now we're going to just lay this on here. This is just a piece of 3/4 plywood with some protection over it. And that'll just keep pressure on it. These are some pads off my car lift, using them for weights. Here's what I was talking about. I'll cut it just a slightly larger than the top of the set. As well as the back. Trim off the edges. I'm just using a utility knife. And I'm just following the side. As long as the blade stays sharp, it seems to work good. And we'll trim the back here. A little closer view. And the other side. So now we're ready to do some sanding. And it's going to be a really light sanding. This veneer is thin, so we don't want to get too aggressive. I'm mainly interested in smoothing these edges, and where it joins the front, I want to smooth this, and just a super light sanding on the rest of it. I'm going to err on the side of caution. We're just using a 320 grit sanding block. This is sticky back, so it'll stick to the block. Okay, I think that's good on the sanding. We've got a nice edge where it meets the side and the back. And I sanded here in the front where these join, so we're looking okay there. I don't feel any problems. Use a chip brush to put it on. Then I have a rag to wipe off the excess. Well, it's been about 3 days and the stain is dry, so I'm going to put some polyurethane on this. Here's what I'll be using. Semi-gloss urethane. Stir it with a paint paddle. 2-inch soft bristle brush. Let's see what it looks like. After the first coat of polyurethane, I'm wet sanding. Then I'll put another coat. And you can see there's a little run right there. And the surface is just not smooth enough to suit me. The color looks good. I'm happy with that. I've already wet sanded the top, so it's ready for a second coat of urethane. We're going to do these sides and the front. All right, I wet sanded all I'm going to. We're ready for another coat of urethane, but a lot of water that gets trapped in these crevices. So it's taking the air nozzle. The water gets trapped under that trim. So even after I do this, I'm going to wait probably a day to let this dry out completely. All right, there's the second coat. And I did thin out the second coat. Just a little bit of paint thinner. Well, I think that's about all we can do on the cabinet. I'm going to take it back in the basement shop and we'll start reassembly. Okay, put the cabinet up on this table. Easier to get to everything. We're going to use this old grill cloth. Even though it's faded, really not going to make that much difference because the grid covers up the part that's not faded. And the speaker goes in the middle of that, so we're going to put it in and see what it looks like, but I think it'll be acceptable. Now this implosion shield and the surround, I'm going to separate it because we got a lot of dirt in here that I can't get to on both the surround and on the glass, so see if I can get it apart. And a knife around this edge, we'll loosen it up between the adhesive and the glass. Okay, cleaned off the old adhesive because it was flaking off and we didn't want black specks to start being trapped between the glass and the front. So we cleaned all that off, put just some mounting tape, double-sided mounting tape. And we got the glass back in. On and off light cover. Well, not so fast. Almost forgot the new feet. So have them on. While we have the setup on the table here, we'll put these decals on next. These are some decals I made for another set that I restored probably a year or two ago. I made 2 sets, and fortunately, they're the right ones. Need to put one more on there on the channel selector and the fine tuning. And we still got to put our RCA metal logo that goes right here. Alright, got the knobs just laying on here. They help me get my spacing correct on the decals. And a little bit of epoxy. Got my vise out here to hold the 2 pieces in place. Once that dries, we'll clean this up a little better. Now we'll take the logo, give it a fresh coat of gold paint. Just use masking tape, tape it to the board. Here's what I'm using, called Metallic Champagne Bronze. There's a color of it right there. Now we're going to work on these knobs. Channel selector. this dial, it's broken right on the number 2. So I have this other one. I'll be using it instead. Knobs are cleaned up as I do on most of the sets I restore. I'm going to put some clear on these knobs. Making a few adjustments after I got the chassis put in. We're looking pretty good. So let's put some signal in and see what the picture looks like. I have to say this restore turned out really well. The cabinet looks good. Here's a close-up view of the knobs and the decals. And there's our on and off lamp. Here's a look at the back. This is that focus control that sticks out the CRT neck cover. So that completes the restore on this 1950 RCA Model 2-T-60. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, how about giving us a like and subscribing to our channel? Thanks.